At the age of 26 in 1962, a young man, along with a colleague, decided to undertake a journey. Their destination, the capitals of the 4 countries who had nuclear weapons at that time. The distance, approximately 8,000 miles. Their mode of transport, walking. Their mission, peace. And their resources, patience, passion, and perseverance. We are delighted to have in the studio with us one of the pilgrims of peace. Please welcome Mr. Satish Kumar. Satishji, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here.
Taking you back to 1962 and that journey then from your having started off, I think, the most impressive phase of your life as a monk, and then moving away from monkhood to just follow passion for peace and non-violence. How did that journey come about?
As a Jain monk, I was already very deeply committed to peace, and therefore going on a pilgrimage for peace was a little bit in my deep consciousness. However, one day on a fine morning with a friend of mine called EF Menon, I went to have coffee in a restaurant in Bangalore.
Okay.
And as I was waiting for the coffee, I read in the newspaper that one of the great philosophers of that time, Bertrand Russell, was protesting against the nuclear weapons and was arrested and put in jail. When I read this news, I said to my friend, here is a man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young men, sitting here drinking coffee? Let's do something. And my friend was also committed to peace and non-violence. We were very close to each other. And so both of us then and there decided that let's go to 4 nuclear capitals of the world and go walking. So that was the inspiration. In a kind of paradoxical way, inspiration came from the West, from Bertrand Russell, who is a kind of atheist, philosopher, mathematician, scientist, but his activism for peace inspired me and my friend EF Menon to undertake this long journey of 8,000 miles.
And when you left, you took 2 very precious gifts from your mentor at that time with you. Let's talk about that.
When both of us decided that we go to 4 nuclear capitals of the world, Moscow, Paris, London and Washington, we went to see our teacher and our mentor, Vinoba Bhave.
Okay.
And he looked at the maps and he encouraged us and he said, yes, I give you my blessings. This is a wonderful work you are undertaking for peace in the world. But I want to give you 2 weapons to protect you. I said, we are non-violent peacemaker pilgrims. Weapons? He said, metaphorically, I give you 2 guidelines to protect you. Number 1, you are a vegetarian, so you remain vegetarian. Second, you take no money whatsoever with you.
Absolutely.
I was surprised.
My God. Okay.
And I said to Vinoba, yes, vegetarian, we will remain vegetarian because I cannot imagine I, as a Jain, eating meat.
Okay.
But no money at all? He said, yes, no money at all. I said, why? Well, we want to take some money so that we can have a cup of tea sometimes or make a telephone call or write a postcard. Vinoba said, you are going for peace. Peace is not just about talking. Peace is about being. You have to be peace. Wars begin in fear. Peace begins in trust. How do you show that you are practicing peace? By not having money, you are showing that you trust yourself, you trust people, you trust the universe, you trust God. So trust is your weapon. And trust is the bigger weapon than nuclear weapons. So go without any money in your pocket.
Just take us through the journey a little bit.
Yes, so we came to the grave of Mahatma Gandhi, Samadhi, at Rajghat, because Mahatma Gandhi has always inspired me. And it is because of Mahatma Gandhi that I left my Jain monk life to bring peace in the world and bring spirituality in everyday life.
There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I do not see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all proof, because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses. It transcends the senses.
So we decided to start our journey from the Samadhi of Mahatma Gandhi in Rajghat, and then we walked through the Punjab up to the Bagha border. And then at the border, many of my friends and our friends and colleagues and family members came to say goodbye. And one of my very dear friend, she was called Kranti, she came to me and said, Satish, aren't you crazy? Forget Vinoba. You are going to Pakistan. We had 3 wars between India and Pakistan. And you are going without money, you are going without food, and you are walking. What about your security? My heart goes out for you. Do you want to take some money? Should you not take some money? I said, no money. Then she brought some food packets with her. And she said, at least take some packets of food so that while you are looking for some hospitality in Pakistan, you have something to eat, something to sustain you. I looked at these packets and I said, my dear friend, you are very kind, but these packets of food are not packets of food, they are packets of mistrust. Vinoba did not say to us that you go with packets of food with you to Pakistan. So whatever happens, if I don't get food, I will take that as an opportunity to fast. But I will take no food. If I don't get shelter, I will sleep under the stars. People like to sleep in 5-star hotel. I will think this is my 1,000,000-star hotel. My friend was in tears. She was crying. I said, why are you crying? She said, Satish, this might be our last meeting. I said to my friend, Kranti, if I die while walking for peace, that is the best kind of death that I can have. So from today, I have no fear of death. I have no fear of hunger. I have no fear of sleeping under the stars. So please give me your blessings and I will go for peace as a peace pilgrim. And I was surprised. The moment we entered in Pakistan, by some, I don't know, divine plan, somebody had heard about it. And this man was waiting there on the other side of the border. He said, I read about you in our local newspaper. I heard about you from travelers and I thought that I'm for peace. There should be no war between India and Pakistan. We were one country before 1947. We should remain at least friends and neighbors, good neighbors. Whether you are Hindu or Muslim, doesn't matter. We are human beings. I said, my friend, you have a good message for us. If we come here as Indians, we meet Pakistanis. If we come here as Hindus, we meet Muslims. But if we come here as human beings, we meet human beings. So our primary identity is that we are all members of human family. And then happily we can be Indians or Hindus or Muslims or Buddhists or Jains or whatever it is. That's our secondary identity. The primary identity is that we are members of human family. And with that resolve, we will go in every country as a human being and all other identities will follow. They are icing on the cake, but the cake is that we are human beings.
I think that one sentence just opens up the whole consciousness, and doors opened up, hearts opened up, smiles opened up for you as you walked across.
Absolutely, it opened everywhere. For whole of month, 1 month, we walked through Pakistan and everywhere we were welcomed by Muslims, by Pakistanis. In the morning, we were given breakfast. At lunchtime, we were given lunch. At dinner time, we were given food. Pakistani Muslims were walking with us. Sometimes it was too hot in the daytime, we'll walk at night. No fear whatsoever. We walked very happily. And when we arrived on Khyber Pass, there's a beautiful story on Khyber Pass.
We'd love to hear that.
as we're going up and up and up, very high pass, Khyber Pass, which is the kind of between Pakistan and Afghanistan, big pass, 4,000 feet high. And so as we're going up, a car came by. And after about 50 yards, it stopped and reversed. And there was a white man, driver, asked us, "Do you want a lift?" So I said, "No, thank you. We don't want a lift. We are walking." So he said, "Aren't you glad that I'm offering you a lift in this wild Khyber Pass? Where are you walking to?" And hearing his accent, American accent, we said to him, "As a matter of fact, we are walking to the United States of America." And the man was very puzzled. He came out of the car and stood with both his hands on his waist and said, "Gentlemen, do you know where the United States of America is?" I jokingly said that, "Sir, we have never been to the United States of America, but we have seen her on the map. We believe that she exists. As Columbus discovered America by boat, we are going to discover America on foot."
Wonderful.
He was very, very pleased to hear that, but also he was suspicious. So he took out his visiting card, the address card, and said, "Gentlemen, I don't know if you'll make to America like this on foot, but if you do, here's my card. Please call me. I would like to welcome you in my home."
So
then we went through Pakistan, then Afghanistan, the central part of Afghanistan, over the mountains, up and down, hills and valleys, going through the central Afghanistan to Herat, and then we came through the deserts of Iran, and we came to Tehran, and we met the Shah of Iran.
Okay.
And he welcomed us, and he said, "Can I help you? You are a peace pilgrim. I support you. Can I give you some money?" I said, "No, thank you. We don't need any money. We are just depending on the hospitality and goodwill of ordinary people." And so he said, "All right, I will tell my officials on the way to welcome you." So that was very kind of him. And then we got visa for Russia in Tehran with some difficulty.
Okay.
It took some time.
So there was no pre-planning. Wherever you would go, then you would plan the next move from there.
That's right. Because we were pilgrims. And pilgrims have only very little plan. Maybe 5 or 10% of plan. Because we had a little plan that we are going to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington. But everything was emerging. Everything was unfolding. Because pilgrims have to embrace whatever they meet.
There's a saying which says, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans. And here we are, we spend all our life planning and wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you have this beautiful story linked to peace tea.
As we entered in the Soviet Union at that time, it was Azerbaijan and then Armenia and Georgia. And during that time, we met 2 Armenian women who were standing by a tea factory. And we were distributing leaflets in different languages. And we also carried a banner in front of our body, the front of our body. And so they read the banner and they read our leaflet and they invited us. They called us and said, "Have you really walked all the way from India?" I said, "Yes, we have." "Please tell us, how did you come? How did you manage? Would you like a cup of tea?" We said, "Yes, please. Any time is tea time, especially if you have no money."
Right.
And so we were invited in the tea factory. We sat down, the ladies made some tea, and we started to drink tea, and they also brought some bread and some butter and some jam and things like that. And then suddenly, one of the women had a brainwave. She went out of the room and came back with 4 packets of tea. I was a bit puzzled, but she said, "These packets of tea are not for you. These are for one, for our premier in Moscow.
Okay.
Second one, for the President of France. Third one, for the Prime Minister of England. And fourth one, for the President of the United States of America." I said, why? She said, this is no ordinary tea. I'm sending them this tea as peace tea. And I want you to give them a message for me, because I cannot reach Moscow, Paris, London, Washington. You are going there. You are peace pilgrim. I believe in peace. I support you. Will you give them a message from me? This mother in Armenian mother in the Soviet Union. I said, all right, what is your message? She said, my message to them is that if you ever get a bad thought or a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button, please stop for a moment and have a fresh cup of tea. And I was so impressed and inspired and moved and touched by their message. And I said to my friend that now whatever, hot, cold, rain, snow, mountains, deserts, whatever the obstacle, we have to reach these 4 nuclear capitals and deliver the packets of peace tea. We are the ambassadors. We are the messengers of peace tea. And so that was a kind of tremendous story, but tremendous inspiration. And so we were able to write to all the 4 leaders of 4 countries, and we were very fortunate to be invited in the Kremlin. We received a letter from Nikita Khrushchev, and he said, you are invited to the Kremlin, and on my behalf, the president of the Supreme Soviet will receive you and receive the peace tea. And so we went to the Kremlin and we delivered the first packet of peace tea in the Kremlin. Wow. And we said that you have to start peace in Moscow, in Russia, in Soviet Union. He said, we are for peace. We lost so many millions of people of our country in the wars, First World War and Second World War. We want no more wars, but it's the Americans you have to convince. I said, we are going to America. We are taking peace tea to America. But you begin the process. You show the way. You show the leadership. So they said, no, we have to do it together. We can't do without Americans. So we carried on. We came to Belarus. We came to Poland, Germany, Belgium, France, and all the way, everywhere, people were welcoming us. We were speaking to the media, newspapers, radio, television, universities, churches, schools. We were giving lectures. We were promoting the idea of peace. Because if you go to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington by plane, nobody is interested in you. Sure. If you go by car or train, nobody is really interested in you. But if you go on walking, everybody becomes interested in the human story. They say, you are walking? Why? What's the message behind it? And so we were invited to speak and tell our story through the media, through public meetings, and we learned languages. We learned while we were walking, a lot of time to learn. So we're learning languages, learned a bit of Russian, we learned a bit of Polish, a bit of English. At that time, of course, my friend E.P. Menon spoke very good English, and I learned English as well. And so this way, we arrived in Paris. But unfortunately, President de Gaulle refused to meet us. And so we said that now the United States, Soviet Union and UK government have signed the test ban treaty. We would like France to sign it, at least, if not abolishing nuclear weapons altogether, at least sign the test ban treaty. But President de Gaulle was not prepared to do that, and he was not prepared to meet us. So we went to the Palace Élysée, the residence of the president, and demonstrated there with our banners. And we were arrested. Because it is illegal to demonstrate in front of Palace Élysée. Within 1 mile radius, you cannot demonstrate without permission. And so we said, don't worry, we are not worried. If you arrest us, we are following in the footsteps of Bertrand Russell, who went to jail for peace in the world. And so we were kept in jail for 3 days. And then our Indian ambassador came to see us in prison. And then police chief came to see us in prison and said, if you don't move on and carry on, we have to deport you back to India. And so the ambassador, the Indian ambassador, said to us that you don't want to go back to India. Let's carry on. And I said, but we want to deliver this packet of peace tea. So the ambassador said to the chief of police, say, why don't you take this tea and deliver this tea to Palace Élysée yourself? So the police chief agreed to that. And so we carried on. And then from Calais, we took a boat supported by the French pacifists and given us as a gift. And we came to Dover. And then from Dover, we walked to London. And we were received by Lord Attlee on behalf of the Prime Minister of UK. And we delivered our packet of peace tea to the UK government. And then we met Bertrand Russell.
Wow. And you must be elated.
We were delighted. What a great man. What a great activist. It was a great pleasure to see that philosophy, science, intellectualism and activism can go together. You can be not only an intellectual and philosopher and scientist, but also socially responsible activist. And so Bertrand Russell received us, and we spent a lot of time talking with him, many things about world peace and about, because it was the height of Cold War, and we were walking with the packets of peace tea and delivering these packets of peace tea to the heads of government at the height of Cold War. And so it was a very interesting time for us. And we also received a lot of publicity in the UK. BBC and the Guardian newspaper printed a big article, and many other outlets. And then Bertrand Russell and many people in the peace movement, they helped us to get enough money to buy 2 tickets in Queen Mary. So we sailed across the Atlantic in the Queen Mary boat, and we arrived in New York. And we were received by the pacifists and peace activists of the United States in New York. And then we started to walk from New York towards Washington, D.C. And on the way, there is a city of Philadelphia. And you remember the man we met in Khyber Pass? He lived in Philadelphia. And we had his card. And so we called him. And we said, Dr. Scarf, do you remember you met 2 Indians on Khyber Pass? He said, yes, I do. Where are they?
2 crazy Indians.
2 crazy Indians, yeah. Where are they? I said, we are right here. We have made to America. We have discovered America. He was so pleased. He was delighted. He came looking for us and received us and walked with us to his house. And we stayed 2 nights with him. And second night, he invited lots of his friends, and we gave a talk, and we told our stories. And that way, we had a wonderful time with him. And then we carried on from Philadelphia to Washington, not too far. And we were fortunate and delighted that we were received in the White House by the representative of the president. And we delivered our 4th packet of peace tea. But we did not stop at Washington. We went to the grave of John F. Kennedy, because we were hoping to meet him. But during this time, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And so we went to his grave, and we ended our journey at the grave of John F. Kennedy. From the grave of Mahatma Gandhi to the grave of John F. Kennedy, from grave to make the point that if you believe in the gun, if you believe in the wars, if you believe in violence, a gun does not kill only a bad person. Violence does not kill only a bad person. It can kill a Gandhi. It can kill a John F. Kennedy. So remove your trust from the gun and violence and put your trust in peace and non-violence. So that is the kind of symbolic message to end our journey at the grave of John F. Kennedy.
It was nearly 2 years, this journey.
It was nearly 2 years.
Wonderful. Satish, you've had a lot of influences in your life. And then after you took this journey, this historic journey, some other influences and people that you met?
One of the most important person who inspired me deeply, and I met with my friend, we met, was Martin Luther King. And he was at that time struggling to bring an end to racial discrimination in the United States. And such a great campaigner, but he believed in non-violence, like Mahatma Gandhi, in a more deep way than non-violence as a tactics or as a strategy to bring about social change. He said to us that I believe in non-violence as a way of life. We have to be non-violent in order to bring non-violence in the world. So meeting Martin Luther King, I would say was a great highlight of that journey for me. But then we were also invited from Japanese peacemakers and peace activists and Buddhists, saying to us that how can you end your pilgrimage for peace without coming to Hiroshima and to Japan, because Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the only two cities we were destroyed by nuclear weapons. So we thought that makes sense. Rather than going back same way, let's go to Japan and then make a journey. So we arrived in Tokyo and we walked for 45 days to Hiroshima. And again on the way, tremendous support, tremendous welcome, tremendous enthusiasm of Japanese people. And then with the help of Japanese, we took a boat from Yokohama to Mumbai. And I was delighted that I was welcomed there by my friend Kranti. And she said, I'm so glad that you have returned alive and happy. And so it was my life's highlight. And I feel that going without money, without fear, trusting people, that trust has become part of me. And now I trust everything. Trust is the key to my life.
So during this journey, there must have been certain reservations and myths in your mind about people and what you would do and how would you trust easily. Some internal discoveries that you made?
There's always a little struggle. Trust does not come easily because fear is part of us. We are humans and humans are made of fear and trust, and sometimes trust takes over. But when I met from all these countries, communists, capitalists, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, all religions, all nationalities, all political persuasions, and everywhere people were people. And that strengthened my resolve and my resilience and my belief in trust. So now I give trust a chance before I take fear. And I I say to myself, I have trusted, and that's how I am here. And I can trust, and I will trust. Okay. So trust is my key word.
We talk of peace today, Satish, we talk of trust. And these are beautiful idealistic terms we aspire towards. But very often in the real life, in the real world, these are areas that we struggle with. You also say very beautifully that realism is highly overrated, and somewhere trying to be realistic, we're destroying the world. Some thoughts?
Yes, people often say to me that, Satish, you are being an idealist. This is too idealistic. And world is not like this. You have to get real.
Right.
Yeah, realism, reality. I say to them that please tell me what the realists have got to show us for. The world is being ruled by the realists, and yet we have wars, we have conflicts, religious conflicts, national conflicts, we have hunger, we have poverty, we have so many problems in the world, and the world is being ruled by the realists. So give idealism a chance. Realism has failed. Realism has not achieved world peace. Realism has not achieved harmony in the world among the humans. Realism has not brought an end to poverty and exploitation. It is Mahatma Gandhi, it is Martin Luther King, it is Mother Teresa, it is the great Lord Buddha, it is Mahavira, it is Guru Nanak, it is great idealists like Bertrand Russell, like Martin Luther King, like Nelson Mandela. These are the people who are the salt of the earth, and the world is still good place as far as it is a good place is because of these idealists and not because of the realists. Because of the idealists that mothers take care of the children. Because of idealism, husband and wives take care of each other. Neighbors take care of each other. We look after each other. We plant trees. We grow food. We trust. We trust. So look, people think that trusting is idealistic. Fear is realistic. But where has fear taken us? We have so much obsession with security, and yet we are not safe. So I think it is high time that we give idealism a chance.
Even when we go back in our memory, the things that we remember mostly are what gave us happiness and joy were love, trust, caring, and the people related to that. But there is something in our inherent nature which so has happened to become that these are things. Now, idealism is not what we are born with, but we need to aspire towards them. What stops us actually from making this movement?
I mean, we are made of two dimensions, greed, ego, ahamkar, what we say,
Right.
sort of pride and fear and anger. These are also human qualities. But love, compassion, friendship, generosity, these are also human qualities. Now, what stops us from developing these human qualities, and what encourages us to develop more fear and more anger and more pride and more ego? It's a kind of social conditioning. At the moment, we are ruled by people who embrace greed and embrace power and embrace status and position, name, fame, recognition. These things have become kind of ruling factors.
Right.
And people who are in the position of conditioning our minds, education, media, business, governments, military, police, courts, they all have kind of fear as the first thing, and suspicion as the first thing, and trust as a second. So now I think what we need to do is to maximize the compassion, maximize generosity, maximize friendship, maximize love, if you like to call it, and minimize fear. It is there. We have to accept our humanity, and we have to love our humanity. So a little bit of anger, a little bit of fear, a little bit of pride, like salt and pepper on your food is okay. But if all food is made of salt and pepper and no rice and no vegetables and no roti, chapati and bread, then food is not going to keep you healthy. So my proposition is, and my life's experience is, that give trust a chance and maximize your trust, human faculty, human psyche, human quality of trust. Maximize, increase, enhance, nurture, water the quality of love, and let the quality of fear and anger go dry. Don't water. At the moment, our society waters the quality of fear and anger and pride and ego and status and power and money. We think if you have money, you are a better person than somebody who has no money. Why? Is a billionaire better person than the Buddha? I think people who have embraced love and compassion and generosity of spirit and friendship and unity of life. Right. That is, we are all made of each other. We are all related. We are all connected. This utter interdependence, interconnectedness, this kind of mutuality, reciprocity, this is the real stuff of life.
You love gardening so much, Satish ji, and you put it so beautifully to say that we are gardeners. Let's take care of this garden and water the right plants.
That's right.
You know?
If we water the right plants, and also it's not only a metaphor, it's also real. Because when I talk about peace, I'm talking about peace within.
Right.
If you don't have peace in your heart, you cannot make peace in the world. True. So you have to start. The seed of peace is in your heart. Very if you water the seed of peace in your heart, and you have peace of mind, and a peace in your soul, peace in your spirit, peace in your life, peace in your relationship with your husband, with your wife, with your children, with your parents, with your neighbor, then you can have peace with Pakistan. Then you can have peace with Russia and America. So peace does not start from Russia, America, Pakistan, China. Peace starts in your heart here. But also we have to make peace with nature. We have to make peace with the forests and the trees, and we have to make peace with the rivers and the soil, the animals. Billions of animals are killed every day in abattoirs for our food. So we have to have a compassion for animals, and the global warming and climate change is part of our war against nature. We have to make peace with nature, peace with planet Earth, because we have to live on this planet. Nature is not a resource for human beings. Nature is a source of life. So we have to move away from this idea that nature is a resource and we can take as much as we want. That is a kind of greed. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, there's enough in the world for everybody's need, but not enough for anybody's greed.
True.
And so peace for me is a very big concept. Peace is not just absence of war. Peace is a way of being in harmony with yourself, with your fellow human beings, and with the natural world. So in India we say Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So 3 times we say Shanti. Shanti within, Shanti with your fellow human beings, and Shanti with cosmos.
EF Schumacher, and you were deeply influenced. You worked very closely with him. Some journeys that you shared together, would you like to share with us?
EF Schumacher was a great economist, and he wrote an essay called Buddhist Economics. And many people said to him that what Buddhism has to do with economics. And the Schumacher would say that economics without spiritual values is like flower without fragrance. That was Schumacher. He wrote a beautiful book. I say beautiful because beautiful word is in his title of his book. Okay. Small is beautiful. And that book became very inspirational to me. And I worked with him. I met him, and thanks to Schumacher that I am the editor of Resurgence magazine. Because when I met Schumacher, he was one of the editors. Okay. And they were looking for an editor. And so he said, Satish Kumar, I like your work and your writing and your thinking. Why don't you become the editor of Resurgence? We would like to invite you to become the editor of Resurgence. I said, Mr. Schumacher, I want to go back to India. He said, why? I said, I'm a Gandhian, so I want to work with the Gandhian movement. So Schumacher said, Satish, there are many Gandhians in India. We need one in England. Stay and edit Resurgence magazine and make the magazine a Gandhian magazine. Bring East and West together through this magazine. Bring Gandhian values and Western spirituality and Western movement of peace and ecology and environment through your magazine. He was very persuasive. I said to him that, all right, if I become the editor, will you contribute in every issue, an article? He thought for a minute and he said, all right, that's the deal. You become the editor and I will contribute in every issue of Resurgence. Right. And so he contributed 35 articles in the magazine. Wow. It was a great pleasure to work with him. He was a great writer, a great thinker, also a great friend.
Right. And that's how the Gandhian from Dungargarh in Rajasthan became the Gandhian who settled now in Devon,
yes,
in the UK.
So from Dungargarh to Devon is a long story. Yes. But in Devon now, to honor my friend EF Schumacher, I have established a college called Schumacher College, where we teach ecology, spirituality, Gandhian philosophy, Tagorean philosophy, Indian philosophy, but also Indian philosophy within the context of universal values. Okay. And Rabindranath Tagore is my great inspiration for seeing Indian culture and Indian values as a part of the universal values. So not a narrow Indianness or Indian nationalism, but a kind of universalism, and within universalism, Indian nationalism. So I teach there, and Schumacher College is flourishing for the last 24 years.
Satish, at Schumacher College, you have some wonderful initiatives. Let's talk a little about that.
Schumacher College tries to promote education in a holistic manner. At the moment, our university system teaches subjects in compartments and departments. So politics has nothing to do with economics. Economics has nothing to do with ecology. Ecology has nothing to do with anthropology. Arts has nothing to do with science. Science has nothing to do with spirituality. All separate, separate, separate. At Schumacher College, we see things interrelated in a holistic manner. But more importantly, we say that understanding, knowledge, and study is not just intellectual. At the moment, our knowledge is very much head-based. Think, think, think. Analyze, analyze, analyze. We say we are not just our head, we are our bodies. So we have heart, we have hands. So we say that Schumacher College education is about head, heart and hands. With our head, we study science, we analyze, we think, we rationalize. It's perfectly good. We need rationalism, we need scientific analysis, but we also need to feel.
True.
So, and feeling comes from relationships. We have to relate to each other. We have to have a compassion. We have to have respect. We have to have love. We have to have friendship. And so that respect comes from heart. So we need to train our hearts, and we need to train ourselves how we respect and love each other and nature. And then also we need to train our hands. At the moment, most university students come out of universities de-skilled.
True.
They cannot build a house, they cannot build a chair, they cannot mend clothes, they cannot spin, they cannot weave, they cannot cook, they cannot garden, they cannot grow food. No skills. Why? Why we have to become so dependent on machine and factories which are so resource consumptive and so wasteful? So we teach our students to do things by hand. So all students will meditate and garden and cook. So meditation is from the heart and from the soul and the spirit, and the gardening is with the heart, hands.
And is there something about the teacher and the taught relationship which is also very special?
Very special. We say that we are all learners and we are all teachers. So teachers are there. Of course we have teachers, but teachers go in the classroom with the idea that we are also learners, and students and teachers are on a journey of discovery together.
At a global level, Satish ji, do you think there's been a movement in how world leaders are viewing peace as a requisite or requirement for growth and development?
Yes, they are. But I think that the idea of growth and development needs to be revisited.
Okay.
At the moment, we have become too obsessed with economic growth. And we are going for economic growth which is unlimited and endless. Endless economic growth. This is not possible. We live on a finite planet. You cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. So rather than economic growth in a quantitative manner, at Schumacher College we say that let's grow in quality rather than a quantity. Because the quantities of forests are limited, quantities of fish limited, quantities of soil is limited. So let us not just grow in quantity and forget the quality. Let's develop the quality of life, quality of furniture, quality of housing, quality of air. The real wealth is not money. Real wealth is good land, good forest, good communities, skills in our hands, good relationships, imagination, creativity. These are the real sources of wealth. So the real growth in quality and real development in life, I believe, should be based not so much on use of fossil fuel, which is going to cause more global warming, more climate change and destruction of nature and pollution. So instead of pollution, we have to find solution, and the solution is elegantly simple living.
Right.
Elegance, beauty, creativity, imagination. Nature is abundant, but not for destroying it.
Right. And I think the point you're trying to make here, Satish, is that how are we making our decisions? Are they enlightened decisions or are they short-sighted decisions? When we take a decision, even at a global or a country level, what are the impacts? What are the backward and forward linkages which is going to set off chain reactions?
That's a very important point that you are raising. Our thinking is very short-term. Most politicians are elected for 5 years. So they want to do something which is popular and quick results so that they can get re-elected after 5 years. But the American Indians, the native indigenous people of America, used to say that we have to think about our decisions and how they will impact after 7 generations. 7th generation. That was their thinking. So Schumacher said the same thing, that we have to have economics which will be so sustainable that it will last not for 10 or 20 or 100 or 500 years, but will last for millions of years. The economy of the earth is the economy of permanence. And Mahatma Gandhi, J.C. Kumarappa and EF Schumacher, many holistic economists have led the way to show us that we need to create a new economics, and that economics of permanence, so that it's always recycling, always coming back, and not use, mine and take from nature, use and throw away into landfills. Take from nature, use, throw away into the landfill. This kind of linear process. Instead of that, good economics, good economy would be that take, use, put it back. That's what happens in nature. Nature takes nutrition from the soil, turns into a tree or crops or forest, and then at autumn and winter time the leaves fall back and it becomes soil again. So this cyclical economy is a new vision, a new economy that we are developing at Schumacher College and through Resurgence magazine. And the environmental movement worldwide is trying to say that the economy is wholly owned subsidiary of ecology, of environment.
One of the challenges is that the human being considers himself or herself the most intelligent being, and not understanding that nature has its own beautiful intelligence, and somewhere the human being is using his intelligence to counteract that natural intelligence, you know.
You're absolutely right, because somehow we have been given this idea that human species are superior to other species. So kind of, we are trying to get rid of nationalism, racism, sexism, but there's a new kind of ism which is called speciesism, meaning one species superior to other species. I think we have to be free of that speciesism, and we have to say that we are nature, we are dependent on nature, we live by nature, so nature is intelligent, nature is alive, nature has memory, nature has intelligence, and nature is a source of our life, so we must take care of nature, then nature will take care of us. If we destroy nature, nature will destroy us. It's a mutual relationship, it's a reciprocity, it's a mutuality. If we don't remember that, environmentalism is the almost religion of our time.
Satish, you have this beautiful mutual relationship with life, you know. You have passion, you have purpose, and you are so dedicated to what you do with such joy. Most of us are in life saying, very often we question, what is the purpose for life? What is the purpose of life? What is my purpose in life? How does one find purpose?
We all have one purpose in common, and that purpose is to bring peace in the world. I'm not doing anything for just myself, I'm doing everything to bring peace in the world. Every word I speak, I hope will bring peace in the world. Every action I do, I hope it will bring peace in the world. If we can bring peace in the world, that, as I said, peace within and peace outside. Inner peace and outer peace. So that purpose is shared in common with everybody. But after that, we can choose our own path. So I can choose the path of teaching or editing or writing. Somebody can choose a path of music. Somebody can choose a path of art. Somebody can choose a path of business. Somebody can choose a path of politics. But we all need to remember that our common purpose is to bring peace. I was talking to a great musician, our Indian musician, Amjad Ali Khan, and he said this to me. He confirmed my thinking. He said, I play music, I play sarod to bring peace and harmony in the world. I'm not interested in name, fame, recognition, awards, money. They're all by the way. They are just happen or not happen. It's up to God. So purpose of life is to bring peace in the world. How you bring it is everybody's personal choice and personal path. And we all must follow our personal path.
Lovely. And that means how we see the world also for us is it can be a smaller community, my little society, the larger country. So the world, as long as we're bringing peace in that.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and bringing peace into this program by your sheer presence. But it was wonderful not only walking your journey, Satishji, with you, but also learning and understanding so much more. So thank you so much for coming to our program.
It has been my pleasure.